I'm with a company called Poly, and a lot of you will know us. Others will know us by two different names, Polycom and Plantronics. We're a merger of two of the older unified communication companies and solutions.
Great, thanks, Mike. Yeah, so my name is Kartik Khambati and I represent HoduSoft. We are into unified communications, and yeah, let's start. Thank you.
Yeah. My name is Len Bachman. I'm with a company called Zoltis. We're based out of Sunnyvale, California. We've been developing UCaaS and CCaaS omni-channel for about 20 years out of California, and distribute that product through certified partners and agents throughout the U.S.
I'm Jordan Hunter. I'm with AnyClip. I'm a sales director there, and we are the visual intelligence company. So essentially, we take all of your video content, be it Zoom or Teams meetings, to your marketing content. We make it actionable and intelligent, so you can make it easily searchable, and it enables you to collaborate easier across your video platforms.
Great. So some may know me from past life. I was a Gartner analyst for a decade, covering telecom, unified communications, session border controllers, VoIP, the whole 9 yards. And so I thought, let me check what Gartner has to say in their recent emerging technologies report. And here's their 2021 survey trends, published in October. So not too long ago, about 7, 8 months ago. Hopefully it's still relevant. And I thought, some of the key trends, 5G. Any topics that 5G conjures up for you guys with edge computing or with greater spectrum?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of the maturity of the communications as well as the solutions is around analytics and the data that supports the solutions that are actually applied. And especially coming out of the pandemic and having to support such a myriad and variety of different deployments being remote, right? Understanding the last mile, understanding what is happening at the different end users' locations. When you talk about the different future infrastructure solutions, you're talking about how do you maintain and how do you manage different devices, different solutions, and then bring your own device, right? From a service provider perspective, it's all about delivering that uptime, the uninterrupted solution, and also delivering something that's equal to what they were used to on site. So how do you deliver that type of solution, that type of ubiquity and consistency across the board? And that's really the challenges that we've been creating solutions over the last 3 years, and really trying to be flexible around what we've done and where we're going because of all that.
Now that brings up a good point, because one of the key ahas in 5G is edge computing. And you have typically on-prem, and now you've got cloud. Now you've got this little hybrid thing, maybe it's called fog or something that's closer to the edge. So, Kartik, any comments there?
Yeah, sure. I believe like 5G is the key ingredient for UC. The logic is very simple, the high-speed internet, which it brings along, and UC being more into collaboration, where you have multiple channels, including emails, chats, video conferencing, Jordan taking care of it, right? So this is the key network and the infrastructure that is needed for a smooth UC and UCC, that is unified communications and the collaboration tools. So I think, yeah, one of the key ingredients is 5G. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that, especially with the mobility piece with remote working, right? So, I'm in an area in the Northeast where we have really good mobility coverage and poor mobility coverage. We happen to have a really stellar mobility app, but sometimes get complaints on the on the connection, right? So whether you're doing it on old cell or you're doing it on 4G or you might be using it on Wi-Fi, certainly, SD-WAN in the past or now the 5G networks that have gotten stronger are gonna really accelerate the mobility app in addition to the UCaaS app. But you'll see, through the evolution of these applications, there's a way to have a lot of parity between the mobility app and the desktop app, and having the highway, right, with 5G to do that, just going to make it easier for especially the people on the road.
Yeah, with us, the ability to collaborate and innovate anywhere is really critical, and 5G enables that. So even in this session here, we're going to record this, and the 5G is going to allow us to upload that to our platform. Later on, we're going to be able to train off of this and take the key use cases out of that. In the past, when you're depending on 4G or 3G or Wi-Fi, that wasn't as easy as it is today with the 5G network. And obviously the spectrum is just getting bigger and better. It's an unlimited spectrum, which makes it a lot easier to collaborate.
And since you guys are doing video, I assume edge computing with the horsepower right there at the edge, when you're doing transcoding, caching, CDN type services, I guess that becomes a critical piece.
Yes, it does, because it allows us to upload something into the cloud very quickly, analyze it, and then take it back and put it back into our platform within minutes. So an hour video, for instance, can be analyzed and available, and scalable within 10 minutes.
Cool. Now, another, what's called a SPA, not the spa we go to, but a strategic planning assumption at Gartner. They had a SPA that they defined that by 2024, more than 70% of SD-WAN customers will have implemented a secure access service edge, a SASE type of architecture, compared to 40% in 2021. Any comments on SD-WAN or security as a service?
Yeah, one of the things that we're seeing from our edge devices is really a migration, kind of making a full circle from leaning towards a public network and a public internet and public providers to a public but secure private network. So for those of you, and I'm going to show my age, that remember BlackBerry and their private
Canadian.
network. There you go, right? They implemented a private network for security. What we're starting to see is you're taking a public network and doing a sub-private network, whether it be in a 5G environment or you're doing it on the cloud access environments that people are already using. And enabling our devices from our studio video equipment to our desktop equipment to interact with those management platforms, understand what environment it's in, and be able to deliver all of the logging and the configuration and all of that information to the right source, right? And be able to interact with all of that. Those are the key components that we're seeing really the environment starting to migrate towards. And it's all around the security, right? Making sure that all the conversations that are happening, all of the technological conversations, the handshakes, all of that, are transpiring over a layer of the network that they're supposed to and not being intercepted. So that's really what we're seeing and we're leaning towards as far as our solutions go.
Sure. Kartik?
Yeah. So yeah, security again is always an important aspect, especially with UC and security, because mobility, as Len mentioned, is the key here. People are accessing the networks and having the discussions on the go. So security at the network level and at the software level are two important aspects that has to be taken care, right? It is easy to make it secure, but it's difficult to maintain it, right? Because you don't know when someone tries to sneak it. So that's where the IT has to be on their toes to make sure that the network is secure, the software is secure, right? And the users have all the access to it, because that's where the UC comes into picture. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, going back to old school, I mean, we've had a session border controller in our product since day one, right? So that helps us there. And we have, we continue to invest into the user experience and also the customer experience, but a lot of our drive and development has been on the security side. More in the data center, right? More in the redundancy and resiliency there, and then training the VARs and our partners on their side of the security, whether it's at the edge, excuse me, or in redundant transport. So we've kind of invested over the last, even before COVID, but certainly since COVID, especially with some of the recent DDoS attacks, right? That we thankfully didn't experience, but many of the people did, our competitors in the Northeast with some of the tier 1 carriers right here. So super important on the data side to invest in partners that are going to give you that level of security and redundancy for that matter.
One little tidbit that not too many people know is the concept of a session border controller actually was invented in this show. Sri Ramachandran, I don't know if he's here, but he's definitely here around at the show, was the inventor of it. And it came out in discussions like this,
Yeah.
where we thought, hey, we got all these different protocols, H.323, SIP, MGCP back in 2001.
Yeah, yeah.
We needed a protocol converter. But then we got to do things like security. Then we got to do things like, oh, billing. We may have to terminate this, and Acme Packet and Nextone was literally in hallways in discussions there.
Very nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's not a conversation that we have at our organization that we don't talk about security, because video content is some of the most important IP that an organization has. So being SOC 2 compliant, we have a lot of healthcare clients and a lot of conversations with them, HIPAA compliant. So you're dealing with the 5G environment, brand integrity is the utmost importance. I come from financial services. I worked for TransUnion for a number of years, and we made a lot of sales when Equifax and Experian got hacked because they weren't, in a secure environment. So it's definitely something that's really at the top of mind for us. We want to make sure that we're in a secure environment so that our customers have the peace of mind to know that when they're uploading or they're processing their data through our network, that it's secure and it's safe, because brand integrity is all really any company has.
In fact, you mentioned the Equifax, so I remember when I was at Gartner, it was a big thing. It turned out it was the heating, ventilation, and AC controllers that access common servers that also had all the credit card information. And so that's a big no-no. Now we learn about things like not only encrypting everything, but having role-based access control, privileges, policy, and even monitoring. Maybe even the IT manager may be okay but from 9 to 5, but maybe gone rogue at 3 a.m. Or maybe having been hacked with a phishing attack. And so now you look at what IP address is this person logging in from? Why is this person accessing HR records at 3 in the morning? Especially of their boss. Maybe there's something there. So now we're seeing stuff like behavioral analytics, which also then leads to AI. Any concepts of AI, Mike?
Yeah, that's been a topic for many years. And you and I both know that this show specifically, we've talked about it around all the different layers within the network. From our specific perspective, we're trying to understand what is happening within the networks that our devices are connected to. One of the magic components that we've created over the last few years is a product called PMSSP, as well as some zero-touch provisioning applications. And it's all regulated around the data that it's getting off of the network and understanding where the bottlenecks are. Also understanding is issues at the edge device, or is it actually on the transport layer, or again, back to the last mile connectivity to the home solutions or the remote solutions. And now it's gotten to the complexity of understanding what kind of transport you're using. Is it actually mobile? Is it truly a telecom transport? What is going on in those places? And then allowing that data to be in the cloud so whoever the provider is can access it and be able to troubleshoot it as well. So those are key pieces that we found over the last few years.
In fact, that brings up a good point when you mentioned configuration and provisioning. A lot of the AI that I've seen is more using predictive analytics to tune the network and the applications in sync. So now everything becomes software defined applications and software defined networks. Well, what if we tune both at the same time? We know that you're going to need more horsepower for video conferencing. And so let's tune that. Maybe you need it for ERP or CRM applications. Let's tune that, and let's tune the pipe.
Yeah, that really leads to what you commented before around behavioral information, right? All of the analytics that we capture today have a portion of it being related to the behavior of the end users. When is the peak hour?
Yep.
When isn't there a peak hour? In some cases, some of these global providers, there's no longer a peak period. It's just a global peak period. So now what do you do with that? How do you maintain it? When do you do upgrades? Now you need a redundant upgrade.
In fact, I'm going to
process.
date myself now. I'm ex-Nortel, being Canadian.
Yeah.
I remember we used to do a lot of network planning and network engineering for Mother's Day, and we would put everything in hardware, anticipating that spike up. And now it's all pay as you grow. So, Kartik, any notions of software on demand and predictive analytics with AI?
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming to AI, we are working on one of our products, which is HoduCC, which is of course omni-channel, customer-centric, and we are working on the AI with respect to bots, and in that we are working on chatbot and voice bot. Right now, this is very simple and it has been spoken a lot. Now, making sure, as you said, the behavioral analytics, where there is a spike or when there is a sell, right? There is more entries hitting the software to coming the calls to the agents. So how we can make sure that we filter it through these bots using AI, and making sure that the right call or the right chat goes to the right person at the right time, right? The right place, of course, so that the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the agents increases. That is one. And second, it is also increasing the satisfaction of the customer, because they have to wait less and make sure that their queries are answered faster. So both the points, from the call center side as well as from the customer side, it is a win-win situation. So yes, AI is always helpful in UC as well. Thank you.
Yeah, being on the sales side, I don't have a lot to talk about on our side, get into AI, but certainly the analytics and the business intelligence that, anybody can capture and then utilize that in an AI form is probably one of the next big phases of UC, I believe, right? Because we're still kind of learning that. The video piece, you have a lot of that in yours already, right? So we're in the process of looking and developing that to see what's going to work best with our current analytics sector, right? And that's kind of a work in progress.
Sure.
Yeah, because we're still learning.
Yeah, AI is at the foundation of our product. So when in your video content, being your Zoom meetings, we're recognizing everything from OCR to objects to everything that you say. We even do translations in up to 100 different languages. So on your typical calls or your commercials, we're analyzing things like a ball, let's say. Flex Sale is a good example. We did a demo with a customer recently where we pulled a few of their commercials in, and there was Flex Sale at one point, and our technology is able to pull that out and actually tag that and says, so that makes it searchable. Down the line, they can say, we want to know where the Flex Sale boat was in this commercial, and they'll be able to find it within a couple seconds. So, and our system gets smarter with time. We're able to recognize celebrities and common people. So the CEO of your company, let's say it's a Fortune 500 company, maybe it's Bill Gates, we're able to recognize that because he's going to be in a lot of different video content. So AI and ML is really the bread and butter of what we're doing, and it gets better and better. And I think one of the cool things that we're doing is with the translations, being able to have a team in America be able to make video content, record meetings, and then a team in Asia can have that translated within a few minutes so they can understand the content as well.
So we heard about chatbots, we heard a bit about, OCR, natural language processing. Well, the key aha is conversational AI, where you can actually see a bot that looks like a human, and it might even do ums and ahs, and might even roll their eyes. You've seen there's demos of this all over the place. Any work towards that?
Yeah, this really takes me back, because these emojis, as people call them, living emojis, we were doing this back, gosh, in the late 90s, right? You could actually enable a feature that would replace you on a video call as an alien or as an avatar that you could select. So all of this intelligence that allows you to identify what's on a video, who's on the video. A lot of that technology has been around for a while. It's really been a question of how do you apply it, who wants to use it, and where do you use it. The new generations that are coming into the workforce today are a lot more active and used to using these type of things. So it's up to their imagination, really, because it's there.
Imagination.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Do I want my favorite character from Nintendo to be my representation? I don't know. It's those type of things that I see my kids using when they're communicating with each other over the video game networks that they're using. And now my kids are in college and they're still doing it, but in different ways, right? And I'm usually the one trying to catch up to see
Have
what
my
they're doing.
emoji talk to your emoji to set up a meeting.
Exactly, right? Having a complete conversation and give me the summary later, right? I don't know. Guys?
Yeah, sure. So I think humanoid is something that we have heard about, right? Where it's like an artificial intelligence come human, collaborated together. But still, being a person, I feel it's difficult to replace a human. That's my thought, right? Because you know what emotions, what feelings, what passion we carry, right? Maybe it's difficult to inculcate in a robot or an AI part, right? Because when you feel something, you react accordingly. But if there is a logic behind the feeling, I personally, that's not a pure feeling according to me, because it's logical, right? So yeah, yes, we can discuss a lot, but I think when you connect people to people, that's where the bonding and the relationship builds. That's my point of view. Thanks.
Yeah, so, going back to COVID, how it changed everything from being in office and speaking to people every day and having conversations, and getting remote where you had to hit a button to speak to somebody. And now you want to implement some artificial intelligence to that, right? And that's, again, we're still trying to learn what's going to be the easiest path there. I'm still kind of old school where I still like the conversation, I still have collaboration tools that I can communicate with and video and screen share and have all that, right? To be very productive as a user, and then try to adopt these tools to enhance your customer's experience, right? That we always talk about CX. So I think AI will be a big piece of that, moving forward. And I think it's a short time till we kind of all polish it up.
I think one of the more interesting trends that's going to happen, and Microsoft is heavily involved in this, is augmented reality, and that's going to be the next phase of collaboration. It's something that the industry is really focused on. Later this year, Microsoft's launching Mesh within Teams, so you'll be able to have, obviously in the remote work, hybrid work environment, you'll be able to put on, I guess, your VR set, and you'll be able to be in a room, and there'll be objects and all that kind of stuff. You'll actually be able to see your coworkers. It'll take a video scan of your face, and you won't be in the same place, but it'll feel like you're in the same place. And that's something that we're focused on as well, is understanding like the hybrid work and how that changes and how you collaborate through that. So if you're talking about something with AR, it changes the whole dynamic of how we work remotely and how we collaborate.
That brings up a good point, remote collaboration. Since we just hopefully have ended a pandemic, I know we're still not quite there yet, but how does remote collaboration, remote working influence what you guys do?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. Really the reality that we found over the last couple of years is how do you make the environment that people were used to using equal to what they're now having to use or wanting to use? As another topic coming is the great resignation that's occurring. How do you solve the new use case for how people are starting to become used to working? And what we've really come to is you have to create a technology and a solution that offers something that's equivalent or better to what they've done in the past. And then now, as they migrate back to on-site in office, how do you continue that? And what's the kind of the fluid solution without having any interruption? Creating a technology that allows us to do what we're doing here, but just it delivers it and gets out of the way. It doesn't create more problems or more issues as it's delivering it. And that's what we're seeing, and what we're kind of our object for the future, and what we're doing in R&D is trying to use that as our guidance going into the next generation of solutions.
You mentioned you've got kids. I've got kids literally at the dinner table texting each other.
Yes, yes.
Do you see a case where people will be in Zoom meetings in the same room?
Possibly, right?
Or
all
so.
You saw that back in the
Pretty
day.
sure that already happens, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, back in the day, even when we were on-prem, there were meetings happening between individuals that were across the hall in conference rooms, and they just decided to do a video call instead of get up and move to the other room, right? That definitely occurs. As far as my personal experiences, a house intercom is no longer necessary because you carry the intercom with you. So you're texting each other even though you're in the same house, right? So that type of behavior is going to migrate into the professional world because that's the way they live, right? So how do you create a solution that leverages that? And how do you become integral to delivering that way of communicating?
Yeah, so again, connecting to COVID, remote workplace is the new norm, and probably this is going to stay. So one of our products is enterprise solution, which is into Hodu PDX, and it has the mobility, it has the apps, it has the desktops, everything. The best key of the remote workplace is first is of course the accessibility, which is the key. Then to connect, communicate, and collaborate. So that's where one of the enterprises which uses our product, they have more than 2,000 employees and offices in 7 countries. So like they all connect through all the features that we have, including audio, video, fax to email, email to fax, extensions, remote apps, everything. But again, the key is security and the accessibility, which has to be there because remote workplace has its own challenges as well, right? So yeah, but yes, that is something which again can be connected with UC, and yeah, it is going to stay and it is probably going to grow as well. Thank you.
Yeah, so again, the new norm, right? So, and people are starting to get back to kind of the old norm. I guess we're calling it hybrid. You know, you might be in the office 1 or 2 days a week and then out of the office for the remainder of the week. So I think it's, really important to have a solution that's going to give you parity no matter where you are. I was in an earlier session, they were talking about the parity of the products, even the ability not to even have a phone anymore, right? We used to all grab them and take them home and bounce them around, and they don't even fit in the knapsack anymore. So, the soft phones have certainly been developed to a point now where they're truly, collaboration tools. They become your portable phone wherever you want it to be, your tablets, your mobile devices, software agnostic, clients or WebRTC clients, right? So. When you have the parity and the power of a UC client that's now brought to a mobility application, it doesn't really matter where you work. I mean, our tagline has been work anywhere, work everywhere for 15 years now, not just because of COVID, right? And, we were talking about it'd be nice to have, your CEO on a beach, getting connected. And it's kind of ironic, but that was kind of my PowerPoint slide way back when, and I wasn't being on the beach. But, again, it's the parity and the power of the products and having, kind of the synergy, right, between your work at home app versus your mobility app, and then some with the collaboration and the file. And I think video is super important, right, today. We're all on these video calls. How many of us turn the video off, right?
I think I turn it off whenever I can.
And it's more about, I think, the collaboration, the file share, the ability to invite somebody from the outside world into your collaboration tool like they're sitting there in the office, right? The ability to then screen share on, ad hoc with video and collab and screen share, right? So the tools are getting more powerful, they're ever changing, and they're always evolving.
Yeah, I like the word you used there, synergy. It's something that I use a lot because it really describes the kind of organization, how our technology works, and how to collaborate. First off, at any organization, if you want to make it work in the hybrid work environment that we're living in, it is the new norm, right? And it has to start from the top-down approach. You have to really buy into it, and your employees can tell when you're not all in. So with the collaboration aspect in our platform, with the videos, you're able to collaborate in videos. One of the cool use cases that we had is, this is like something that in the past would never happen, movie studios. Now they have a lot more, remote workers, and one of the challenges they had was, collaborating over, the dailies or B-roll, and trying to understand better how their teams, maybe some based in California, some in Florida, how they can edit, in a remote environment. And one of the use cases that we have currently is a movie studio, television studio. They're able to take the B-roll every day, and they can collaborate, through comments and tag each other to say, hey, we like the way this looked. Can you shoot this differently tomorrow? We don't like the way that shot. Can you shoot that differently? And maybe move the product a little bit. It makes it easier. It's a back and forth, conversation. They don't have to go through email. They don't have to pick up the phone. They're easily, just tagging each other. And our technology is able to not only, you know, help with the collaboration aspect, but also the picking up different objects in the videos. Hey, well, we need this to be shot this way, the sky didn't look right, the clouds didn't look right, you know, I'm able to just go into our platform, type in cloud, and hey, this is not the right way. I can say, hey, John, can you shoot this a different way tomorrow? Because we're really trying to get on top of this, and it makes it really easy for people to collaborate in those ways. There's so many different, you know, things you have to be mindful in a hybrid work environment, and anything that can make, you know, communication easier is really what we're focused on.
In fact,